Welcome back to the tiling video. So today we're going to talk about what your underlayment is. And so typically, if you're installing over floors, you'll be required to use an underlayment. If you're installing over concrete, however, you can typically install your tile right over your concrete. But today we're working on plywood, and so for that we're going to need to use an underlayment. And so this underlayment is very specific. There are kind of two types as far as I know. There is a concrete backer board, which is a little bit more traditional. It's sheets of backer of concrete, very similar to drywall, just with more concrete in them. And you actually screw those down to the floor. They're great. They're a little bit heavy. They're a lot of work. This is a newer system out called Ditra Schluter uncoupling mat. And basically what this is, there's a felt back to this, and then there's a grooved plastic pattern to the front. And so you spread mortar on the ground, and then this felt actually embeds to that mortar, and so it makes a strong mechanical connection. And then once this dries, you come to the front side and you spread your mortar over top of that. And so the same thing happens, is these squares, the mortar locks into the squares, and then your tile is adhered to these squares and the mechanical connection there. So someone was asking, why not just put it right onto the subfloor? And so the best thing about this is that as much as it does create a strong mechanical connection, it also allows flexibility. So these two layers basically can move separately of each other. So if your subfloor is moving and heaving, it won't affect your tile, and the other way around. If you're stepping on your tile, it won't affect your subfloor. And so what this is gonna get is this is gonna get you a floor which doesn't crack as much. So your grout lines will stay longer, everything will last longer. So it's a really great product. And so what I'm gonna start doing is I'm going to unroll it out here on the floor, and I'm going to start in this back, and I'm going to work this way. And so I'm just going to roll it out, and I'm going to cut the piece dry. I'm going to fit it dry. I'm going to make my holes for my toilet. I have a little vent over here. I'm going to cut it to width, and then we're going to show you how to embed it into mortar. So first thing I want to do is measure off the wall. It'd be very easy just to go ahead and line up with the wall, but sometimes the wall isn't 100% square or true. And so what I want to do is I'm going to measure off of the wall. I just measured the Ditra, and it comes out to 39 and a half. 39 and a half. So I'm going to measure 39 and 5/8. Basically, I'm going to give myself a little bit of room, and then I'm going to create a chalk line right here. So instead of chalk lining to the wall, which might not be straight, hopefully I'll be able to get a straighter line right here. And then I'll work off of this line instead of working off the wall. So now my goal will be to line up my Ditra to right here. Also, if I need to take any measurements, I'm going to take them from this right here. So, example, if I want to measure for this vent, I can measure from right here, and that's how I'll get my measurements instead of measuring off the wall. So I'm going to work on this. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the length here. Okay, so we just finished making our cuts in the Ditra Schluter mat, and so a few things I wanted to point out. We were just able to cut it with scissors, so that's pretty nice. You could use a razor knife, you could use scissors, do whatever it takes and what you feel most comfortable with. So right now we've just finished dry fitting, and so it fits pretty well. We're really tight up around all the edges, just leaving a little bit. 1/4 inch is okay, and then we've cut around here as well. And then same thing, we cut around this vent, and so we are right up against the vent. And if I needed to, I could come into the vent here and I could just trim it if I were a little bit long. And then this side is going to fit really nice right in there. So I'm going to go mix up a batch of mortar, and then we'll be back to actually apply the mortar and then apply the board as well. Okay, we just finished mixing our mortar. So Ditra Schluter recommends that you mix your consistency a little bit wet than you normally would. They kind of have a weird word for it. It says like wet but still can hold a notch. So you make the decision there. But basically we're going to take now our 1/4 by 1/4 by 3/16 trowel, and we're going to spread it over the area that we want to work. And so first thing I always do is just apply it. Go ahead and fill the entire area, and then you're going to comb with this comb here. So I almost like to get it on and then comb away and back towards my area. So the biggest things here are make sure you don't get anything in your holes. As well, this is the line that we want to come up to, so don't go over the line or you'll have some work to do and you have a little cleanup to do. So basically I'm going to get it on the subfloor, and then I'm going to start combing it, and you really want to fill the entire area. Don't work in a section that you can't finish before this dries. So you have about half an hour, but you'll notice it'll start to set up and you won't be able to spread it as well. So I'm going to get it on, and I'm going to start combing it towards me and then work my way out and not trap myself in there. So I'll start in this corner over here. So that's a good way to start, but you do really want to get it into the cracks here. And so nice thing about these trowels is they have kind of this spot as well, so you can get in there and get nice and tight. Okay, so just finished troweling everything out, and that might take you a while, and that's fine. So now we've got kind of our notch trowel mortar in there. So now we're going to take our sheet, and very carefully we're going to lay it down and embed it into the area. And so the biggest thing here is just kind of working slowly and making sure it is movable, but it can get a little bit messy if you have to move it multiple times. So we're just going to lay it on there to start, make sure it fits well, and then we're going to go spread it out. So I'm going to start with my holes, use those as a navigation point. And then also looking at my line right down here. A little bit of hair that way. Alright. Now that I am confident in my fit, move it back towards me. If you need to, you can always trim it at this point as well. And so now you can take a trowel, or I have here a float. My trowel is dirty. And basically what you're going to do with this is you're going to comb it out toward the edges. And so you're just pressing down nice and hard, and then you're working everything down towards the edges. And so this is really just getting us a really nice tight bond here, pushing all my weight down on it, getting back into the corners, and you can see it move and squish out some of the mortar. And if you're squishing out mortar, that's not really a big deal. Just come back later with a smaller trowel and clean up the edges. You do want to catch it though before it dries. Alright, so one thing that they ask you to do is to check how it's embedding. And so by that, what they want you to do is actually take up and check some of your work. So after smoothing it out, you can come over to a corner, lift up that corner, and see how you've done. We'll check back here in the corner. So we should lift up and see, there we are, we've got mortar all over the place. And so that's exactly what you want to see. You don't want to see any voids, you don't want to see any pockets or holes or any lines. So take spend some time doing this, making sure that the entire thing is well adhered. So I'm going to do this a little bit more off camera, but we're really ready to do our next piece now. The biggest things that you need to do is you're just going to try to line up with this line right here, and then just continue. There's no seam needed or anything like that. You can just go ahead, lay it over just like that. So I'm going to finish this, and I'll see you guys when we're ready to do some tile. Thanks for watching our video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you can get updated on all our newest videos. Also, go ahead and click the links below so you can see our social media profiles as well as our website.